What is up, fellow Eagles fans, and I guess football fans out there, whoever watches these vids? I know not just Eagle fans watch these vids, so almost the end of another regular season, a couple weeks to go. And let me first say this. I know what the talking points have been this week. I listen to sports talk radio as much as anybody. All the talking heads out there saying what they're saying, that are fellow Eagle fans on YouTube that do the yeoman's work, of course. But man, I'm just glad we won that game. Listen, I understand the frustration. I get it. This team isn't doing what they were doing a year ago. They should be blowing teams out. They haven't blown out a team all year. There's still issues in the locker room. First of all, none of us are in the locker room, so we can go based off what the reports are, but we really don't know. All right? We really don't know. We can speculate, but we really don't know. We're not in there with them, right? Even though sometimes we feel like we should be as fans. I needed that win as a fan, and I know they needed that win as a team. And to me, the fact that they won the game was all I really wanted to see. It didn't, and you know what? It's like I said last week about that Seattle game. I just at the time of that game when it was in the fourth quarter and it was oogly, that game, right? I'm like, I just want to win. At this point, I just want to let's get out of here with a win. And instead, they gave up the 92-yard touchdown drive to Locke. And here we are in a kind of similar situation against the Giants. And I know it's a different team and a different situation, but you got Tyrod Taylor out there with last possession, but they didn't score. Okay, they didn't score. Now we can cut this game apart every way like a pizza with different slices, right? You cut a pizza with all the slices, right? You can dissect that. You can do whatever. I'm here to tell you right now on December 27, 2023, almost the end of another year, that I just wanted to see a win. Because 3 games in a row losing, it did test. It did test, and it was getting vile. It was getting really vile on our local sports talk radio channels, on YouTube, with the beat reporters putting out these stories, right? Which, by the way, when times are good, you don't see these stories about dissension in the locker room and all this and that and everything, right? Everyone's kumbaya, right? Last year, everyone's kumbaya. All of a sudden this year, they lose a few games. Here comes the stories about Jalen. Here comes the stories about, right? And I understand that these reporters are just doing their job. But, I mean, it's like they don't make things any better by putting out these stories in the midst of a losing skid. That's not really helping anything, and I know they're trying to sell their whatever it is online or papers or whatever it is, but it just doesn't. And you only see those stories when times are getting rough. You don't see them when they're winning games. These stories weren't coming out when they were winning against Buffalo and Kansas City, and even though they were close games, they were winning. As soon as they started losing, here comes a story about Jalen. Here comes a story about the locker room. Here comes a story about Nick Sirianni, right? Misery loves company, I get it, but it's hard, man. Those last 3 weeks were tough 3 weeks to have to go through. All I wanted on Christmas was to see a win. That's all I wanted to see. It didn't matter to me if they won by 30, by 3, by a point. Just give me a win. Let's get back in the win column. And I'm glad they did it. I know, it's like taboo to say that now. Oh, I'm glad they won. I'm glad they won. Because I couldn't take another loss. Particularly against a team like the Giants that, look, we're better than. We're better than. And oh, by the way, the Eagles are the only team that got Mr. Danny DeVito benched. Didn't see him getting benched against any other teams he was playing. The Eagles got him benched, though. They got him benched. So you give a little credit to the defense. I know they gave up the long bomb to Tyrod to Slayton. Blankenship shouldn't be covering anybody downfield. That just shouldn't happen. But for the most part, the defense had a pretty solid game. for the most part. I mean, the Giants got a score on a Barkley touchdown on a short field on a crazy special teams blunder, which the Eagles have actually done really good this year with special teams. Last year, it was a weakness. This year, it's a strength. Right? So you give credits to the coaching staff there and to the players for getting better. Right? But there was just a crazy play. And it was a fumble, and it was the Giants' ball, and the next thing you know, Barkley's in the end zone, the game gets close again. But they never gave up the lead. And we have to remember that. And listen, here's the thing. You have all these fans calling in saying this team isn't good enough. They should have blown out the Giants. But these are the same fans that would have said if they would have blown out the Giants, if they would have won that game by 30, well, the Eagles should have done it. The Giants are a bad team. They should have won the game by 30. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You really can't. You know, and I know we all love these Madden scores, but if you look at the scores around the league week to week, there's not a lot of blowouts. There's not a lot of teams that win games by double digits. It happens, but it's not a regular thing. I mean, I know earlier in the year you had the Dolphins putting up 70 points on the Broncos, and really what if they, right, their offense looks so good against certain teams, and then other teams, they're lucky to score 24 points. I mean, there really isn't a perfect team in this league. I know that the Niners looked as good as you can, and now look. They got blown away by the Ravens. Now the Ravens look like that team. And it could be another team in a week or two. These teams that are becoming the hot teams, like the Rams, who the Eagles beat this year, by the way, in L.A., right? Now they're starting to come along, right? You get these other teams. You know, right now the Ravens are the team everyone's putting the trophy on right now. Just a week ago it was the 49ers. And that's how quick this thing changes. You know, and yes, I'm not saying the Eagles are right now, would I put them up there with the Ravens or the 49ers? No. Because, look, they got blown away by the 49ers weeks ago, and they're not playing as good as Baltimore is playing right now. But I would certainly still put them in an upper echelon, particularly if they get a 1 or 2 seed, which is still very possible. Still very possible. And I'll tell you what, at least if they get the 2 seed, I'm still feeling pretty good about things because that gives us an extra home game in the playoffs. And look, I mean, the 49ers, I mean, look, do I expect them to lose before the NFC title game? No. But you never know what could happen. Purdy ain't looked so purdy this past week, did he? So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. There's upsets. Things can happen. Maybe some, you know, hey, back in 2017, right, the Minneapolis Miracle. And instead of playing the Drew Brees and the Saints, we got Case Keenum in the Vikings in the NFC title game. Now, I still think we would have beat whoever we played that year because the Eagles were just going on that kind of run. But still, things happen in the playoffs. The teams lose. The playoffs is just about surviving and advance. You know, and here's the funny thing, right? Here's the funny thing. In 2017, the only year the Eagles won a Super Bowl, right? The Eagles, after Carson Wentz got hurt in L.A., they didn't look the same, right? We all remember those ugly games afterwards. They were winning games. They won in the Meadowlands. They won against the Raiders, I believe, but they were just ugly, ugly games, right? Then they lost that game that didn't mean anything to Dallas at the end of the year in a close, like a 7-3 or whatever the heck the score of that game was. It was just an ugly, ugly game. And there were people in this town, I wasn't one of them, but there were people in this town that said Nate Sudfeld should be the quarterback over Nick Foles. People were panicking. And look, we went from having an MVP candidate in Carson Wentz that year to having a backup quarterback, and people were panicking. The team didn't look the same. The magic is lost. And it wasn't until playing the Vikings in the NFC title game that started to turn. Because even the divisional round against Atlanta was a close game. And it came down to the very last possession where Julio Jones, who's ironically now an Eagle, had the ball go over his fingertips with Jalen Mills on him in the end zone. Otherwise, the Falcons win that game. We don't even go to the Super Bowl. And after that game, it was like this big relief. People weren't talking about the final score. They were just relieved the Eagles won the game. It wasn't about, oh, well, we won, but we didn't win by 30 points or 20 points. It was, man, we won that game. What a game. Can you believe that, right? And that's the mentality when you get in the playoffs. When you get in the playoffs, it's just about surviving in advance. You just have to win to the next week, right? But I say that to say this. Back that year, we won the Super Bowl. And after Carson went down in L.A., this team didn't look anything. They didn't look the same. They didn't look like a Super Bowl champion until they crushed the Vikings in the NFC title game. And that gave us all hope. Even though we were playing the great Patriots, that we had a chance to win that Super Bowl. Because based off the performance against the Vikings. Now, if they would have had a game against the Vikings like they did the week before against Atlanta and just barely won, we wouldn't have been feeling as confident going into that game against the Patriots, right? But we felt that way because we saw this team start doing things the way they did it when Carson was the quarterback. They were putting up these points. Now they're doing these things, right? Last year, listen, they won a lot of games. They were winning. They were blowing out teams. But the strength of competition wasn't as good last year as it's been this year. This year they've had one of the toughest schedules in the league, and they have 11 wins with that schedule. And I know it's been ugly. I know this past month, 3 straight losses. Horrible fashion, right? They do come off a win. People think they should have won by more. Listen, you're playing a division against a division opponent at home. Anything can happen. We saw Kansas City earlier in the day lose a game to Oakland. I know Oakland's played a little better since Pierce has been their coach. But, I mean, that's a game Kansas City no way should lose when they could have wrapped up a division title at home against a team that, even though the Raiders have played better, they're better than. The Chiefs are better than the Raiders. And they're playing at home, and they lost that game. The Eagles at least won the game. And sometimes that's the most important thing, particularly when you're coming off a losing skid. You just got to win. You just got to win a game. It doesn't matter how you do it. You just got to win. And I'm not sitting here and telling you it's all sunshine and rainbows, with this team right now, because there's still things they need to get better. But I liked some of the things that I saw in that game. I mean, Jalen, listen, we can say what we want. Has he played the way he did last season? No. But he made some plays. 3rd and 20. He's converting a pass. On the run. Throwing a dime to A.J. Brown. Defense, I like what I saw out of Shaq Leonard. And I know it was against the Giants. But I still like what I saw out of him. I like the fact that they're going to start to get guys back like Jalen Mills. They could really use him now. They're going to be getting him back soon. Slay will be back soon. Dickerson will be back on the offensive line. They're starting to get guys back. They're starting to get a little more healthy, and you need that going into the playoffs. It's what helped them last year. And last year was a different year. Listen, last year was the blue snow year. The way they played, the way they were just winning, blowing teams away, and they won some close games too. We have to remember this. They did win some close games, including against some teams that probably shouldn't have been close games against, like the Colts, the Bears. Close games, but they won them, right? And they ended up doing what they blew out the Giants. They blew out the Niners in the playoff games, and then they lost in the Super Bowl in a close one to Kansas City, right? Well, what happened? It was a close game. They didn't play the same as they did the previous couple weeks when they were just running away with the game. I like the fact that this team is winning close games this year against some good teams too. All right, the Giants maybe not, but Buffalo, Miami, in Kansas City, home against Dallas, those are all good wins. I'll even say the Rams game right now. I'll even say the Tampa Bay win was a good win. These are all, playoff or potential playoff teams. The Eagles have more wins this season. As much as we like to complain, they have more wins against quality opponents this season than any team in the league. So you got to give credit where credit's due. And I know, listen, the sky's fallen. The last 3 weeks, they're losing games. Sirianni's an idiot. The coaching staff doesn't know what they're doing. The players don't know what they're doing. You know what solves that all? Winning. That's what it does. And it doesn't matter, and believe me, in this league, it doesn't matter how you win. It doesn't matter by how many points. This isn't Madden. You don't get style points. You don't get upgrades on players if you win by a certain amount of points. No, this is the real world. This is the real NFL. This is real sports. You just got to win. And listen, this is an important game on Sunday. Okay, they're either going to win the division. If Dallas loses to Detroit, they'll be the first team to win the division in back-to-back years since the Eagles did it many years ago. or they're going to still have a chance at the number 2 seed if Dallas wins the game. And I like I said before, I never root for Dallas, so I can't do that now. But if Dallas wins that game, and they're at home, so they'll probably win because they win at home. On the road, it's a little different for them, as we noticed, right? A little different. But they're at home. They'll probably win the game. They've lost a couple in a row. They'll probably win the game. Detroit's just coming off a division title, getting a little fat on the hog a little bit. So, again, spot for this game, I think Dallas might win this game, and I think that would give the Eagles another chance as long as they take care of their business against the Cardinals on New Year's Eve day and win that game. That gives them a chance at least to get a second seed, to still be alive for the second seed. Maybe even get the second seed. I forget how it all works out. There's still just a lot of, this has to happen, that has to happen. But I do know that whoever loses that game on Saturday night benefits the Eagles as long as the Eagles win the game against Arizona. And I'm not going to say it's an easy game. No game's an easy game at this point with the Eagles. We know this. They play a lot of close games. They play some ugly games. I think they're going to win. I think they see the path ahead of them now. And I think it did them a lot of good by winning that game against the Giants. Even though it was a closer game than we all wanted, I still think it did them a lot of good to win that game. Because that's what they needed to do. They needed to get that dub, and they got it, to their credit. And the Giants haven't won here in 11 years, to the chagrin of the Giant fans out there, right? Pizzal wearing a tutu, doing the Eagle fight song. And I know Bones wasn't very happy. He was doing a little... Bones was getting a little mouthy this past week. And, Bones... I mean, we saw what happened again. All due respect to Bones and Calpizzle. But they got the win, and at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a win. I couldn't take 4 straight losses. Oh, God. Sports Talk Radio was vile as it was the last 3 weeks. Can you imagine if they lost that game to the Giants? I don't even know if I could. And I listen to Sports Talk every day. I don't know if I could have done it this week. I may have just had to put music on or something this week. Because it would have been, and it's bad this week, even after a win, because it wasn't a clean win. It wasn't a pretty win. It wasn't a win by double digits the way they should have. Again, just win. If they win a playoff game like that and advance to the next round, we're not saying anything, because it's different in the playoffs. It's, they advanced, right? It's different. We're not going to know what this team is in the playoffs, and you can't base it off of these games. Things happen. We've seen many seasons where teams just don't look that good in the regular season, right? Or they come in limping into the playoffs or something, right? And then what happens? They turn it on, the light switch goes on, and they go on a run. The Giants did it a couple times. The Packers did it, right? The Steelers found a way, right, as a lower seed, right? We've seen this many times. The Buccaneers with Tom Brady won as a wild card team. They didn't have a home game in that playoffs. They won all games on the road, and then they won at home in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. But it happens. Teams aren't going to look great all the time, but you want them to be looking better and playing better in the playoffs, and that's when you have to do it. And it doesn't matter, believe me, it doesn't matter. We would all love, I would love to sit on the recliner. I love those type of games. The second half, the game is over. By the fourth quarter, the starters are coming out of the game. I just have my feet up. I got my hands back. I'm watching the NFL Network more to see what the scores are going, right? Yeah, I mean, those games are great when you're winning by 20 in the fourth quarter. And, hey, this game's over. We got that win, right? But in the playoffs, I'm telling you, you're going to have to win games the way they've been winning. And most of the games this year, they're going to be tight, close games. And I do like the fact that they're winning a lot of these games this year. I think that makes them, that toughens them up. That shows that they can win the close games. And you're going to have to play games like that in the playoffs. I mean, last year I think was an anomaly kind of year in the playoffs, right? Obviously, the 49ers ended up without a quarterback at one point in that game. So that was basically easy street from there on, right? The Giants game was a blowout. right? The Eagles just had the Giants' number more than anything else last year. The Giants. The Giants didn't have anything for the Eagles. Although the one game at the end of the year that clinched the 1 seed, that was a close game against the Giants. People forget. That was a close game against a backup that was in there for the Giants. And it was a close game, but the Eagles won. And they got the 1 seed off of that game. Right? It's probably going to come down to that again. They're probably going to... the Cardinals, for as bad as they are, they play a lot of close games. So can I see the Eagles coming into this game and it being another close one? Probably. But again, I just want to see a win. Because either way, it's going to benefit them to win this week based off of whoever loses in that Dallas Lions game on Saturday night. I just want to see a win. Even if it comes down to a Jake Elliott field goal. Just win the game. Get that higher seed or win the division. Okay, I'll take it. And then the next week you're at the Meadowlands. And we'll see what happens there. If things are still on the line as far as 1 seed or 2 seed, it probably still will be. Because irregardless of what happens this week, the Niners are probably going to crush the Commanders in Washington. So, it's going to come down to that last game. And if the Niners win, they'll get the 1 seed. But that game isn't a gimme. I mean, they're playing the Rams at home. And the Rams, they might need that game just to make the playoffs. So, that might not be a gimme game for the Niners. And that's a division game. And weird things happen in division games. We all know this. Right? So we'll see. We'll see. But it was important for the Eagles to get the win. Were there some crazy things that happened? Some ugliness still? I don't know. AJ not talking after the game to reporters, whatever, right? It is what it is. There's drama. There's always going to be drama. Always going to be drama. Particularly wide receivers. Wide receivers are just about the drama. They just are. That comes with the position. Unless you're Larry Fitzgerald, right? Or Jerry Rice back in the day. But there's always going to be drama with these guys. Always going to be drama. But, again, I just wanted to see a win, and I'm glad they got a win. I was happy after the game. Was I overly joyed? Was there things I wanted to see them do? I wanted to see them finish more drives with touchdowns. That's still something they need to do. Do I think they're capable of doing it? Yes, I do. I think there's just too much talent for them not to on that side of the ball. But I like some of the things I was seeing from the defense. Now, listen, they didn't get a lot of sacks on DeVito, and the Giants didn't have a great offensive line. I want to see a little more pass rush. I want to see better at that. Am I going to see that the rest of the season? I don't know. Last season they set the world on fire with the pass rush. You can't expect that every single year, the numbers they put up last year. This year it hasn't been. And we all know about, they're not blitzing enough. They're not blitzing enough. This defense just isn't going to blitz. I think we just have to understand that. This isn't what they do. As much as we would love to see it more, it's just not how they go about their business. Their concept is more about getting that pressure up front with the front four. And unfortunately, we're in a situation where Josh Sweat hasn't had as good a year. They're not getting the rotational guys having as good a year as they did a year ago. And the young guys are playing more snaps now that they've played in who knows how long, because obviously Carter was at the University of Georgia playing in a bowl for the national championship at this time last year, and Davis is a second-year player. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's just the reality of the situation. Hassan Reddick is still going to be Hassan Reddick. He's still going to make his plays. But we need more than just Hassan Reddick. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I do. But again, I like some of the things I'm seeing with in just a few weeks with with the schemes. Other than that, with the defending, with the coverage, I think it's been a little better. We all, the Blankenship play. But aside from that, look, they stopped a couple fourth downs. I mean, is it perfect? No, they're going to give up third down conversions. It's going to happen. A lot of teams do. Look at how many conversions the Eagles get on third down. So, is it perfect? No. Can it be a little better? Yes. Do I expect it to be a little better when you get some of those guys back from injury? I do. Like I said, I think getting Avonte Maddox back will be huge. And I even getting Slay back now, is he what he was? No, but I think he's gotten a little time off. He's an older player. I think that's going to help him a bit. and getting him back is going to be a good thing too. So I like that for the secondary, and they're going to get Cunningham back, and that's going to help with the linebacking core as much as it can. They're not great, but at least it's better with him out on the field than when he's not. And like I said, I liked what I saw out of Shaq Leonard this past week. I think he had obviously his best game since he's been here. He was used more this week. At least he got more of his snaps, I would say, this week than he has prior. And it's a new defense he's coming into, so it's going to take a little time. But I like the fire, he brought. He made some plays last week. And that's all we can hope. I'm not expecting Ray Lewis out there. I'm not expecting Lawrence Taylor. But I'm expecting at least an improvement with the linebackers then when they didn't have him out there. And I think him and Cunningham will be a nice pair, going forward into the postseason run. And I do expect it to be a run. I don't think that this team is one and done, particularly if they get at least a 2 seed, because that gives them 2 home games in the playoffs. As we know, this team at home in the playoffs is a whole other animal. It just is. They got to a Super Bowl last year. Back in 2017, they got to a Super Bowl. I know they lost at home to Seattle those years ago in that crazy game where Wentz was knocked out on a cheap shot early. But more times than not, they win home playoff games. So, getting that home field is still paramount, at least as a 2nd seed. And then you take your chances. Who knows? Maybe the Niners get upset and the Eagles are hosting the NFC title game if they get there, right? Or you take your chances out in California. We'll see. We cross that bridge when we get there, right? Or maybe miracle upon miracles and the Eagles somehow get the 1 seed. If the Niners slip up against the Rams in a couple weeks and the Eagles win out, the Eagles get the 1 seed. So there's still a possibility. So there's still some things that could be positive going forward. Like I said, worst case scenario, I want at least a 2 seed. I want that 2nd home game in the playoffs. And then you take your chances with what happens with the Niners, going forward. But, like I said, man, the biggest thing for me is I just wanted to get a win this week. And I know it wasn't pretty, and, we can complain about things. And listen, there's still meat left on that bone, okay? We know. But I wanted to see a win, and that's what I got. All right, it was an 8-point win. It could have been more. It could have been less. So, I'll take it. We'll move forward. We go to, against Arizona this week, and we'll see. Someone's going to lose on Saturday night unless they tie in Dallas. And then we just got to beat the Cardinals, which a lot of teams have done this season. So, in Gannon's return to Philadelphia, which I'm sure he'll get well. He'll have a lot of well wishes when he returns. So we'll see. Listen, it's week to week at this point. It's week to week. We just got to get wins. That's all that matters right now. That's what matters on Sunday. Just win. The old Al Davis saying, just win, baby. That's what it is in the NFL. Just win. We can talk about the players. We can talk about the coaching. We can talk about what we want to see. I still think it's so funny, and I do enjoy watching. Every now and then I'll get on YouTube during the Eagles games, and I'll watch the Joey Shakes live stream. And the comments, it's like a team that the Eagles are playing will get a first down. And people were commenting, this team ain't winning the Super Bowl. This team stinks. They gave up a first down. And it's like they're the worst team in the league. All that instant reaction, which I can't do. I can't do these live streams. It would just be too tough. I did do it when they won the Super Bowl late in the 4th quarter. And it wasn't a live stream, but I got my live reaction. And I'm so glad I was able to post that during Super Bowl 52. But I don't think I can do these in-game things. That's just a little too much. But a lot of Eagle content creators on YouTube do it, and they do a great job, so shout out to them. But the comments, and even by the people doing the streams, like Joey, it is rather humorous to watch that and to see some of the reactions to just one play or something like, there's a whole rest of the game to go. The other thing I love, I still love this during the brotherly shoves, is you still have that one defender who jumps on top and he goes for a ride. Slim and I, were commenting on Messenger back and forth during the Seattle game how many times Bobby Wagner just jumped on top and you just see him going. Just crowd surfing every time. So that's still, we still get to see that week to week, which I just could never get enough of. I don't know why someone thinks it's a good idea to jump on top. I mean, you just see them. It's just so futile. They're just on top, right? It's just funny. But we'll see. Listen, I understand the frustration. I'm frustrated with things as well, but I also see the big picture, and I just want to see wins. At this point, just win. Win on Sunday. It will be a big win, irregardless of how they get it, because it will put them in a good situation for the playoffs, right? And then you see what happens in the Meadowlands. I don't think it's a guaranteed win there. You just played the Giants. The Giants played them. Listen, there were some goofy plays in that game. More than likely, the Giants are kind of going to be looking towards the offseason when we get to that game, right? Their season's done. It ended. It probably ended weeks ago, but then they had the false hope with DeVito winning a few games. And then they got, knocked around in New Orleans, and then they lost this one. So it's over for them. So more than likely, their players are probably going to be looking at their bags, at that point. And the Eagles will probably have still something on the line in that game. So maybe that's the game the Eagles blow out that team. We'll see. Maybe we'll see Mariota in the fourth quarter in that game. Right? We'll see. Maybe this week. Maybe they blow out the Cardinals. So we'll see. But, again, irregardless of what the score is, I just want to win. I want to win on Sunday. I want to win again next week as long as the game matters against the Giants. I want to win there. Just get wins. You end the season on a 3-game winning streak. And then you go to the playoffs with some momentum, right? And that's a good thing. I'd rather that than the other way around. So, a Battle of the Birds this Sunday. Eagles-Cardinals, finally at 1 o'clock. God, thank God. Oh, all these late games. And I know the last game's going to be a late game, too, because they're gonna probably play, because that game's probably still going to have the first seed on the line. And the game is in the West Coast. They're Niners-Rams, so the Eagles are probably going to play a 4 o'clock, whatever, 4:30, whatever, against the Giants. And then the Dallas game too. Unless Dallas loses and the Eagles win and the division's wrapped up, then it won't matter as much what the Dallas score is with the Commanders. So the only two it would mean anything for that week, as far as the Eagles are concerned, will be for the 1 seed in the NFC, and then they'll play at the same time that the Niners. So it's going to be another late game. But I'm enjoying the 1 o'clock this week. Finally, 1 o'clock game, yeah, baby. Yes, I do enjoy the primetime games, but when you have week after week after week after week with the primetime games, just get me a 1 o'clock game, just 1 o'clock. I need one, and it's New Year's Eve. I just want to enjoy the New Year's Eve, and I'll enjoy it much better with a win. And again, I don't care. They can win by a point. They can win by 20, 30. Just win. Just win the game. It helps you for a playoff seeding or what have you. Just win this game on Sunday afternoon at the Link, and then we'll see what happens a week later in the Meadowlands on that terrible turf that they have. They really have to do something about that, but they won't. But they really should. All right, everyone. That's all my take for this past week. I understand the frustration, believe me. But I know how it's important to get wins. And at the end of the day, style points don't mean anything. It's nice to have blowouts, to sit back and relax with the hands up behind your head and just kick back and, maybe flip around between that game and something else. We haven't been able to do it all year, right? But maybe that's just what this team is this year. We're going to have edge-of-the-seat games, and listen, we've had plenty. So if they do it again on Sunday, I'm not going to be surprised. But as I said, I just want to win. Just win. The old Al Davis saying, like I said, just win, baby. Just win, baby. Just win. And you know what? If we win in the playoffs, if we win on a last-second Jake Elliott field goal in San Francisco and and hurt those Niner fans again, we're not going to care. We won the game, right? We win the Super Bowl on a late safety and win by 2 or something. We're not going to care. We won the game. We were champions, right? And that has to be the mentality going forward. That's the playoff mentality. That's what you got to have. You just got to win, survive, and advance week to week. And that's what it is. All right, everyone. So, as always, let's go Birds. Let's keep getting some wins here. And I will see you next week with a recap of the last game of 2023. And then we look forward to the first game of 2024. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks for watching. And what do you always got to do? Leave those likes, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and make sure to hit the bell icon so you're notified of all future content from yours truly. I got some things coming up this weekend. Looking forward. The last weekend of the year. Going to be taking you around a little bit when we have a vehicle vlog coming up. Maybe some pickups. You just never know what could happen. So you want to be alerted to all future content from yours truly. So hit that bell icon and you will be alerted to future content like this video right now. All right, everyone. Take care. Go Birds. Our Birds. Not the ones in red, the ones in green. All right, everyone. Take care.